A guy that doesn't really have a mold to fit into either is Trey Smith. My goodness, dude, I love this pick so much. He's one of those guys that you love to watch play football. It's like Kalichio Simile on
Hmm.
steroids in terms of his aggressiveness, his aggressive nature, and that's what the Chiefs need. And I even made this point a little earlier too, earlier in the offseason. Like when the Chiefs upgrade their offensive line, it's going to make the last year's number one overall pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I guess he wasn't number one overall. Their first round pick look really good now that they have this upgraded offensive line. If you haven't watched the Big Boys Club with Jeff Schwartz, Duke Manyweather, the Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey clips are back to back, so you can just like go to, I don't remember what timestamp it is, but it's like I think they're like the second or third guys into the whole program. So if
Right.
you just want to skip it to head to that, it goes Trey Smith right into Creed Humphrey. It's like it was made for Chiefs fans right there. I've watched it 3-4 times already. Like the dude's first game as a college, I almost said college
Yeah.
pro, but he absolutely buries a guy on a pole, and it was a cornerback, obviously, but he buries him, gives him another nice little punch, then steps over him. That's the aggressive nature you're getting from Trey Smith as a sixth round guy. I cannot believe that he fell to the sixth round. I know a lot of people are worried about his medicals, about the blood clots. That's a good concern because he talked about that in the little big boys club about how the medicine he takes is a blood thinner, so he doesn't get blood clots, obviously. And so he can't really practice every day because if he has internal bleeding, it could get pretty bad because his blood's pretty thin.
Right.
If he gets a concussion, it could be even worse. So, and he said, but I've gone now weeks, now months, years now. It's been two
Years. Yeah.
all pro years. I say all pro because he plays in the SEC, so he's probably getting
All
paid.
American, I think.
Yeah, all SEC at the very least.
Oh,
Yeah, he's playing at a high level in the SEC, one of the best conferences in the country. We don't need to debate between, which is the better offensive line conference, but there's some dogs in the SEC. He's not going up against nobodies in the SEC. So I think that's a really positive sign. He hasn't really had those issues. He's been all conference. The medicals did scare teams away, but good enough for the Chiefs, right? I mean, he was trending on Twitter that people were saying like, "Yo, how come Trey Smith hasn't been selected?" Trey Smith was tweeting out like, "I'll never forget this" or something like that. So
yeah.
the dude's ready to work, and this is a pick too. That's a very good foresight pick. When you look at this, when you look at
Oh,
guard,
yeah.
LDT could be a post June 1 cut. You have Kyle Long only here for a year. They need options when it comes to right guard for the long term. Trey Smith is that perfect option.
Yeah. He's pretty much the perfect option there. He did say his when he came back from the blood clots in his lung, the first year he didn't practice, but he did say his second year he practiced, I think it was a day and a half of contact practices.
Yeah.
So he did get back in there for practices. He said, I know the Chiefs said they have a special concoction, I believe was their phrasing about the medicine they were thinking that would work with him. And I think they picked him with a plan. And I like the plan where he's going to sit for a year. He was not a perfect prospect at guard. I don't think people need to rewrite history here. There was a reason he was going to go day two, even if he didn't have the blood clots. But the reason he was going day two is kind of like the Kane-Do pick, where it was just the Tennessee coaches kind of just didn't get the most out of him that they could. He came in as
Yep.
an offensive tackle prospect also. He has the length and the size to play offensive tackle, but he projects as a guard more because he played that in college. He does need to work on his technique,
Yeah.
needs to refine some of his game, but he's in the perfect spot to do it as they figure out his medical stuff for his first year, figure out his technique, have him learn under veterans like Tooney, Long, and LDT. It's probably the perfect spot for him, and he seems very grateful, and it seems like he's ready to work right
Mhm.
from the get-go. So I think that was, like I said earlier, I posted a standing ovation gif to the
Mhm.
pick when it happened. I think that was a nice little exclamation mark to the draft.
Yeah, totally agree. So here's what Brett Veach had to say about the value of the Trey Smith pick and kind of the plan that they have with him. And they talk about his medical condition a little bit here too.
Obviously, we feel we got tremendous value, extremely talented player, great person too, smart. So listen, there's been a lot of talk about Trey and his fall, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't really want to speak on in regards to his conditions, but I think Mike Berganzi was on the other day and he spoke about it. We did a lot of work with him, in particular, Mike Monaco. He has, I'll probably defer to Rick on this because I don't want to screw up the language, but, he had a situation he was going through and he tried some different medications and some of them worked, some of them didn't, but really put a lot of faith and trust in Rick and in his training staff. And then I would say that of all the players throughout this draft process, I don't think I spoke to Mike Monaco more about than Trey Smith. We had a ton of dialogue with him, and Mike was involved a lot in that process, not just with me and my staff and Rick and his staff, but also the people at the University of Tennessee, Trey's agent, Trey himself. So, Mike did a really good job of making sure he had all the information and again, safety's the most important thing for us. And, I would say that in general, we're probably one of the more conservative staffs there are in regards to any gray. We're probably taking people off our board. So I knew early on that when Mike thought he had an idea of how to fix this, I thought that we were really onto something because again, any area gray, we're usually taking the player off the board because we don't want to put players in that position here in Kansas City. So feel good about the work we did on him. And again, if everything works out, you're getting a guy that obviously would have been drafted a lot higher, got tremendous upside with him. So we're looking forward to getting him here and having Mike and our trainers work with him and getting him up to speed and seeing if we can tap into all that potential.
As we mentioned earlier, Brett Veach talked about the plan that they have in place for him. And there is a situation where this pick doesn't work out, right? And it wouldn't be the end of the world if he doesn't work out. There's tons of 6th-round picks every year that don't work out. So I like the, in air quotes, risk that they took on Trey Smith here. There's no risk here, I don't think. I think it's a very low risk, high reward pick for the Chiefs. Trey Smith could potentially be the right guard of the future. If he, honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they come out of camp and say, you know what, Trey Smith played that well, and we're going to make him the starting right guard. That wouldn't shock me at all either.
Right. He's going up against two guys who didn't even play last year. So
right.
I think there's definitely a world where he can do that. I wouldn't bet on it. I would say he's the underdog, especially because he's a rookie and they're already I'm going to guess they're going to start a rookie at center and Creed Humphrey and basically rookie right tackle if Niang wins that job too. Feels a bit excessive to do 3 rookies on the right side, but I mean, they're all 3 very talented. Right. And Trey Smith might be the most talented of them all. He had a great athletic testing too. Big dude, 6'5", 330. And it's kind of crazy if he does work out. Let's say him and Niang works out. Best case scenario. We're going to say Creed will, because if Creed doesn't work out, that is a terrible pick. The Chiefs have, once they re-sign Orlando Brown, they will have their starting offensive line for 4 years at least.
Yeah.
That is crazy to come out of this offseason with, because they went into the offseason with question marks at almost every position, I believe, especially after they released both Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. So it's kind of crazy what Veach has done in one offseason. And I think the Trey Smith pick kind of was the cherry on top, the bow that tie the present together. It was okay, we're stacked. If we can coach up these guys, we're stacked. It's really hard to project who misses the cut on offensive line. They have to carry about 10 before you go, okay, I kind of see where the cutoff is. If they carry only 9, 8, they're going to have to cut good guys. I'm guessing they would trade them, but I think Trey Smith is the last piece of that. And I think that means they're going to carry, like, after last year, I think they're going to carry like 9 or 10, and Trey Smith will be the 9th or 10th guy. They'll coach him up, give him a year, kind of redshirt him, and we'll see how he works out. I think for a 6th-round pick, it's as good of a gamble as you're going to get. So I really like the pick. And for the 4th year in a row, Brett Veach had 6 picks in the draft.
Yep. He likes that lucky number 6, I guess. That's his lucky number for the draft. But I had people asking me, people tweeting me on Twitter saying, like, hey, now we look at it, is the fullback that they just signed, was it Michael Burton? Is that his name?
Michael Burton.
Is he now going to be cut? Is Nick Keiser probably is going to be cut? You have to think that, but he was an exclusive rights free agent, correct? So I mean, he literally like doesn't cost him anything. It doesn't cost him anything. And then you're looking at the offensive line. You got guys who are who were starters last year, not fighting for starting positions this year, but fighting for roster spots this year.
Right.
So like that's the talent upgrade that we've been talking about the whole time when it comes to the offensive line. Yeah, it would have been fine, right, with Mike Rimmers and with Nick Allegretti. The line would have been fine. It's good now. Like it's top 5, and it might not be top 3, and it might not be top 2.
I would hope it's good. I think we need to take a collective breather, maybe a little bit of a chill pill still,
That's
because
fair.
one, we shouldn't expect it to be top 5 out of the gate. It is 5 new players playing together on a line, on an offensive line that communication matters. And it's 5 new players playing together. So actually, technically, Creed Humphrey and Orlando Brown played together.
That's
so
true.
I guess they can go harper back to that. But still, I mean, it's still 5 new guys. They'll have to gel. I would actually expect them to maybe not be good out of the gate. It might be like a 2019 Chiefs defense type thing where it takes them a bit of time. But the talent's there. And I think the biggest question mark will be Lucas Niang. If he can step up, play above average at right tackle, this offensive line not only is going to be good in the passing game, it's going to punish in the running game. The interior is so much better at virtually everything compared to last year that buy your CEH shares in any fantasy league that you can, because I'm still seeing people down on him. His hype train might come up now because people see, oh, the Chiefs remade their offensive line. But if they don't, oh my God, CEH is going to have a year. And that's going to be good for the Chiefs, because I think I don't want them to run more per se. I just want them to run better.
Right. Yes.
And they were not doing that last year. It was kind of just a wasted play. They can definitely find efficiency now in the run game. They can actually block it up. And we'll see if they maybe change how the running offense works too. They've been doing a lot of outside zone, but the guys they signed don't really scream to me outside zone. It screams inside zone and gap stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see maybe if they switch to that. And Trey Smith, Trey Smith is part of that because he's a mauler. He's a Kelechi Osemele. He pushes guys, gets on a guy, and he's in the dirt. And Creed Humphrey can do that. Orlando Brown can do that. Tooney can do anything. So we'll see if they change it up. And I think Trey Smith is part of that evolution. And I think this whole draft is part of an evolution of the Chiefs team I think they needed.